Hi guys, welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Saturday the 29th of September 2018. I'm so glad that you're joining me today to talk about some knitting, some yarn, and just what's been going on in my life, if you care to stick around for that. So welcome if you're a new viewer, and welcome back if you're a regular viewer and subscriber of the podcast. You guys know how much I appreciate that. I'm recording today with a new phone and a new camera, which I'm really excited about. It's always kind of nerve-wracking to try new technology because sometimes it fails and can be really frustrating, but I have checked it, I have tested it, and so far the quality seems great. So let's just hope for the best, and if it's not perfect yet, be patient. I will maybe need some time to figure it all out, but I am working on it for sure. So, I don't have any finished objects today, and I also don't have any acquisitions, spoiler alert. So if you're interested in those things, I'm very sorry. Someone said the other week that they're missing my acquisitions, and trust me, so do I, but only 4 weeks until Norway, so only 4 weeks of yarn diet left to go, and I must say so far it's been going pretty good. So because we don't have any finished objects, which seems really weird, let's just jump straight into some works in progress. And I will start with what I have lying in front of me anyways. So last week I showed you this yarn from Rauma, which I was sent by a lovely viewer of the podcast, and it would be really helpful if I held it the right way up, wouldn't it? Look at this autofocus, you guys. So a lovely viewer of the podcast sent me some Rauma 2-ply, which is not their phenol yarn. This is just their 2-ply, which is a sport weight, I think. And she sent me 2 colors. Or she actually sent me 4 balls, but I decided to use these 2 colors, which are colorways 401 and 447. To try this yarn. She brought it with her when she came back from Norway. So these are the 2 yarns, and I decided to cast on because I really wanted to try this yarn out, obviously, before we go to Norway. So it's a really nice 2-ply yarn, and you guys, I'm not lying when I say this yarn was made for Colourwork. And because I know someone will ask, how soft is this yarn? I'm going to give my usual answer. It is not a superwash merino, hence it is a woolly wool. It is proper wool. But if you don't like something being a little bit rustic, I would definitely recommend this. So I decided to cast on a mitten to try out some color work, because this is really what this yarn was meant to do. And oh my gosh, you guys, I love it. This pattern is called Casting. It's a Swedish pattern. I think the designer's name is something Clark. But it's all in my show notes on on my project pages on Ravelry. If you're interested, you can find me on Ravelry as Wupfi, which is WUEPFI, and that's also written in the beginning of this podcast episode. So I wanted to do some simple color work, mittens, and I thought about just playing with gauge and using one of my fingering weight mitten patterns that I had, but I didn't really want to do any gauge swatching, any math. So I decided to use this pattern, which is written for pretty much this kind of yarn. It's a Swedish pattern, so it is only written in Swedish as far as I know, but it is essentially just a big chart. So I managed to figure it out without speaking a single word of Swedish. And I have finished my first mitten, except for the thumb. So this is what it looks like. I think it turned out really pretty. It's a really fun pattern. It also wasn't very expensive, to be honest. And I just knitted exactly as written in the instructions. So I used the recommended needle size, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle. I used these higher sharps, which are empty because I haven't started the second one. And you guys, I love this. This is such a fun mitten. I'm going to try it on the wrong hand because I don't want to take off my ring, but it fits really, really well. As you can see, I still need to weave in my ends, but all in all, it was super simple to do, and I think I was just pretty lucky that I hit gauge. But I love this pattern. I think it's really, really beautiful. I also love the fact that it has the color work on both sides, whereas a lot of mittens have just something more plain on the inside. So this just flew off my needles, and I think it turned out really pretty. And just while knitting with this yarn, you could really just notice how amazing it is for color work. Just even when knitting with it, the fibers, they just cling to each other and they just create this beautiful fabric. This has not been blocked, but even now I think it's already created a beautiful, beautiful, fabric is the right term, I think. And I could not love these any more. I hope. I'm not trying to give myself compliments on my knitting skills. I just really like this yarn. So this flew off my needles within, well, I knit most of it in one night, and then yesterday I just finished up this top bit, and I need to finish the thumb. And yeah, it was pretty straightforward considering I don't speak Swedish, and I really, really like it. Also, the designer has a lot of really pretty color work patterns, I noticed. So, first mitten done, the second one needs to be cast on. This hat doesn't even have a project bag because I just cast it on and worked on it non-stop. But this has been really, really fun. And now I have fluff up my nose. And guys, today I'm not having any coffee. Isn't that insane? But that's only because I've already had a lot of coffee today. Let's not kid ourselves. Next up, we have a couple of socks, even though I haven't really been into socks lately, which has been crazy. I don't know when that has happened, but I haven't really been into all the color work and all the sweaters. But I did make some progress. So in here I have my Hedgehog Fibers socks. This is Hedgehog Fibers Twist. They're BFL nylon blend in the colorway Carnival, which I think is really, really beautiful. It's coming across very, very neon. It is very bright, but maybe not as bright as it is showing up. But yeah. So I have, I think last time I showed it to you, I was just before the heel. So I have finished the first sock, and I really, really like these, you guys. It took me a while to decide if I love them, but now I really, really like them. I think they turned out really nicely. I just did a plain vanilla sock, 64 stitches, on a 2.25 millimeter needle, Fish Lips Kiss heel. And it took me a while to get used to this yarn, just because it's my first time using this base by Hedgehog, and it's very different to their normal sock base. But yeah, I think they turned out really nice. So I finished the first one relatively quickly. This is what the yarn looks knit up. I think it's very pretty. And in this tangled mess, I don't know what happened here, but as you can see, I cast on the second sock, and now I just need to finish it. So I'm hoping these might be done by next week, but we'll see how it goes. Actually, a lot of knitting should be done by next week because I have 3 days off next week. Yay. So these are my Hedgehog Fiber socks. Pretty much all the socks that I've knit lately have been plain vanilla, which I know is not super interesting to look at, but I enjoy knitting them, so yeah. Next up, another pair of vanilla socks is my Christmas socks using the yarn from Rock and String Creations. I have a big mess in all of my project bags these days. So the tag for Rock and String Creations for you to look at is this one. And this is their self-striping super sock, which is merino, superwash, and nylon. And it is a self-striping colorway called Reindeer Games, which is their Christmas colorway. Okay, so I had to shift some stuff around because once again I'm having lighting issues. It's a super bright day, and apparently light is just reflecting off a window outside and straight into my window, and it was making stuff very impossible for me. And also I'm still completely blinded by the light now, and I'm essentially seeing stars. But oh well. I was talking about my Christmas socks. The first one is finished, but I think I had already finished this last time I talked to you. So this is the first one, and I have now worked on the second one. I haven't made crazy amounts of progress, but this is where we are. I took this morning when I went out with a friend for coffee and knit on the bus as well as in the cafe. So that was quite nice, and I essentially just need to knit the tube and then put a heel in when I'm done. I'm doing afterthought heels with this one. So again, I feel like I'm on the finishing straight. I just need to sit down and work on all these things, which is essentially the issue for most of the projects I'm working on at the moment. I feel like I'm kind of close to finishing all of them, but then not really close to finishing anything. But yeah, so that's where we are with that. I'm really still loving this colorway. It is very, very neon and it's very fun. So those are my Christmas snacks. And next up we have a couple of sweaters. So first up, you might remember my Jolie sweater, which I haven't shown that much because I hadn't really worked on it because I was stranded on Stockinette Island, and I'm so excited to tell you guys that I've actually worked on these. I've made quite a bit of progress on this. So the yarn that I'm using is Wollmeise in their Pure Base, which is a 100% wool blend in the Fliederbush colorway. And I bought this in their summer sale this last spring or summer, I don't know when it was. So that's the yarn that I'm using. I have 2 cakes and I am alternating skeins. This is how much I have left, so I think it should be enough. Let's hope so. I want to knit a relatively long body, and then I just split whatever yarn I have left into 2 equal amounts and just see how much, how far I can go with the sleeves, but I think I should be okay. And like I said, the sweater is called Jolie. I don't remember the designer's name. I'm so sorry about that. But again, you can find it in my project pages. And you guys, look. This is where we are. I've made a ton of progress on the stockinette. Last time I talked to you, this is where the stitch marker is. So you can see I've at least added another 15 inches, if not more, because it is curling at the bottom. And I am relatively close to finishing the body of this thing, which makes me very, very happy. I was complaining about this so much last week, and then I just picked it up and I made so much progress, and it was really, really fun. It was very relaxing, stockinette knitting in the round. And then on Monday we had my dad who was visiting, and we may have emptied a bottle of wine, and I was just knitting round and round and round. And yeah, so this is where we are. You can see the lace at the top, which I still think is very, very pretty. The color is, it's more like this. It's a little bit darker than it is showing up, but purple seems to be difficult for most cameras. But I'm really enjoying it, and I've tried this on, and I think this will be a staple in my wardrobe. This is just such a nice pattern to wear. It's very easy, it's very nicely fitted, and I think with this yarn, this is my first time knitting a garment out of Wollmeise yarn, and I think it's going to last me a really long time. So let's see if I can give you a close-up. This is what the lace looked like. It's not a difficult lace. It was a little bit challenging just because you're doing like lace and short row shaping and all that at the same time when you start, but it is really pretty and it does really pay off. So that is where we are with that. I'm using 3.5mm needles for that. And yeah, there's not a crazy amount of interesting stuff to tell you about. You can see I have my sleeves and waist yarn. So I just need to pick them up. Maybe I'll do like 3/4 length sleeves. I think that might actually be quite nice with this sweater. I think that would be quite wearable as well. Talking about sweaters, I should probably talk about the sweater that I am wearing today. The sweater I'm wearing today is once again the Rocane sweater by Christina Danahy. I think I showed this last week on the podcast when I had just finished it. I knitted out of Drops Lima yarn, and I've been wearing this a ton. This is a DK weight sweater, and it's been really, really cold here. And both Kai and me were slightly sick, so I've been wearing all the yarn, all the thick woolen sweaters, and this one has been really good. So yeah, that is that. And next up we have another sweater. And this is my favorite thing I have on the needles right now, you guys. I love this. Um, so this is my Damiaka Lupa sweater, which I showed you last week. This is my second time knitting this pattern. It is a pattern by Pineguri, and it's also called the Flea cardigan, in case you have heard of that. And it is a Colourwork top-down cardigan, which is knit in the round, and then you stick it into a cardigan. So right now, I guess it is still a Damiaka Lupa sweater, but it will be a cardigan eventually. And you guys, I love this thing. I love this to pieces. So last time I spoke to you, I was possibly where that stitch marker is. And again, I feel like I've made quite a bit of progress, considering there's like the flea pattern on the entire body. And again, I've just worked round and round and round and made quite a bit of progress. So I love this thing. I love this thing so much. I don't want to sound like a show off, but I just love this sweater. I can't wait to have it finished. At the same time, I don't want to finish it because it's really, really fun working on it. So what can I tell you about it? I did do some waist shaping, although I didn't follow the waist shaping that was in the pattern. Not because it was difficult, but just because I never follow anything in a pattern. But you can kind of tell it's just a slight shaping, and then now I'm just knitting straight down, which I think should fit me really, really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the body, do the bottom rib, then probably do the sleeves, and then in the end I will stick it. So you can see my sticking panel. This is what it looks like. And I just love it. I don't know what it is about this pattern, but I feel like I'm going to knit 1,000 more of these sweaters because you can just play with color, and it is just such a fun pattern to knit. And I kind of want to do more all over Colourwork sweaters, but then they are really out there. Whereas this is kind of all over Colourwork in the sense that you have the fun two color stranded knitting, but it still is relatively subtle. And what I did for this is I played with the colors. So my flea, which are those tiny dots here, should actually be in this black color, but I wanted something a little more subtle. So I just interchanged that for a light brown, which I was using in the Colourwork up here as well. Also, I changed the chart up a tiny bit and put in a little bit more yellow, because there's quite a lot of yellow up here and down there, but there wasn't much yellow in between, so I kind of changed that up as well, which in itself is really, really fun. So this is where we are with that. I'm still debating whether I want to do the button bands in the black, which is what I should be doing, but then I kind of want to do that in that beigey color as well, except then of course it will kind of stand out here where it joins. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that, but I will figure it out. I'm crazy excited about this decking, which is why I think I'm going to force myself to knit the sleeves first, because I really want to get to the sticking part, and if I do the stick first, then I may not be so motivated to knit sleeves after that. So that is where we are with that. I'm knitting this on, let's see, I think 3.25 millimeter needles. Let's see. Yeah, 3.25, which I think is the US size 3. And yeah. The yarn that I'm using for this is Drops Flora. So this is the tag. It is a non-superwash wool and alpaca blend. It's essentially the fingering weight version of Drops Lima, which is what I use for this sweater. So I'm using quite a bit of commercial yarn these days. It just worked out that way. And I have a ton of this yarn in my stash. I bought quite a lot of it for Colourwork sweaters, and I kind of bought, like a lot of gray, a lot of brown, a lot of black, and then lots of colorful balls to make fun Colourwork sweaters. And I think after this I only have like single balls left, so that's kind of annoying. But either I'll have to buy more, or I will do some just like fingerless gloves and that sort of thing to use up more of like the single balls. But we'll see how about that. It feels really good to get this yarn out of stash, and I've knit quite a few sweaters in this yarn, and it holds up really well. I also really like the inside with the floats. But anyways, I think I'm boring you with the sweater, so I should probably move on. So that's all that is on my needles at the moment. I've also done a tiny bit of spinning, but nothing worth showing to you. I think I'm just going to show that to you whenever I finish a skein of yarn. So that is essentially all the crafting that I have to talk about, which feels very strange. Like I said, no yarn came in, which is a good thing. So yeah, I don't think I have any more knitting content for you guys. I feel like this went really fast, but maybe it didn't. I'm also quite wary of the whole camera thing, so maybe it's not a bad thing to record a bit of a quicker episode today and see how it goes. So if you're only here for the knitting, then thank you for watching, but if you do want to listen to me ramble about what's been going on, feel free to stick around if that is interesting to you. So this week has been intense. But I'm really happy to have gotten through it. I had some worrying things come up, which I had kind of been worrying about for a few months, and all that went over relatively smoothly without going into too much detail. So I'm very, very relieved about that. I was just stressed out in the last couple of weeks to have certain things loom over me, and that seems to have passed, which is fantastic. Also, work has been intense, which it usually is, but also really fun because I'm doing some new things, which just keeps it interesting, and it's fun to like learn new things. So besides that, my dad visited for 2 days, which again was really fun. I think he never visited just by himself, and he stayed over. We went out for dinner. We had some really good, proper Bavarian food, which was nice. I tried to convince him to go to Oktoberfest with me, which he denied, but I didn't really expect that we would go. Anyways, what else? It is Saturday today, and we went out with friends last night. I went out on a knitting date, brunch date this morning, and now I'm really excited because I essentially have nothing planned. Kai and I do want to go to Oktoberfest maybe tomorrow, but more sort of like through and just during the day because I want to wear my dental, and because we've never actually gone the two of us together, which it just never worked out. So I think if we manage to do that, that would be really, really fun. The weather is quite nice. It has been super, super freezing all of a sudden last week, and of course whenever it gets cold for like a day or two, both Kai and I, we got a massive head cold, and we were both at home but still working, and we were quite miserable, but it wasn't really terrible at all. It's just really annoying when you have a bad cold and you're still working, and in my case I was doing a lot of like doing things over the phone, and it wasn't very fun, but we got through it, and now the weather is starting to get a little bit nicer and warmer while still not being super warm, so that's nice. And I'm just talking about the weather. Also, I'm really excited because next week, Wednesday, is a public holiday, and we both have Thursday and Friday off, which means that we only have to work Monday, Tuesday, which for me is going to be an insane work trip. But then we'll have 5 days off, and you have probably guessed it if you've been a long-time viewer of the podcast. Of course, Kai and I are going to go down to the Alps as soon as we can and hang out in the little holiday apartment that we can use there. I'm planning to do all the knitting, and I hope the weather is going to stay nice because I would really like to do some hiking and like autumn walks and stuff. And usually when we go down there, the weather is always really terrible. But fingers crossed, maybe we'll have some nice autumn weather. I would really enjoy that. Besides that, I'm planning to take all the yarn and do lots and lots and lots of knitting and nothing else really. So I think that'll be really nice, and I should have lots of content to show you next time I come back for podcasting. My voice is going. So since I have a new camera, I'm really excited about that. I had for a while been debating to get a nicer, proper camera for podcasting, but then decided to instead get a nicer phone because I love my phone, and that would just be more useful for me than buying a camera that will solely be used for the podcast. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm thinking I might be able to do some more sort of vlogging and mini videos and maybe Instagram stories and stuff. So I'm going to be playing around with that. I'm not sure if I'm a vlogging person. I'm not quite sure if that's my thing, but I kind of want to play around with that. And since we're going away, just depending on how it goes, I might try to do some sort of fun vlog videos or something. So let me know if you're interested in that or not. I think just some feedback would be appreciated. I'll probably still do whatever I want, but let me know if that's something you would be interested in. It'll also be a good test run because, as you may know, me and my friend Marion are going to Oslo in 4 weeks, which I am ridiculously excited about. And I think that would be a really fun trip to, well, vlog or just take some footage or whatever. I'm not quite sure what I want to be doing. But I feel like now I actually could because I have a proper camera that most importantly has a good sort of stabilizer, because in the past when I filmed, just the lack of stabilizing would mean that my camera was very, very shaky. So I'm going to play around with that. Let me know if you're interested. And again, if you're in Oslo or near Oslo in the beginning of November, let me know because we're planning to do a little knitting get together, and that would be quite nice. Besides that, I don't think I have anything exciting to tell you guys. I haven't answered any questions lately, so I'm thinking. I have a question thread, but I think it's very far down in the Ravelry group, so maybe I'll push it back up. And if you have any questions, maybe at some point we can do a question segment or question episode, or I'm not quite sure. I'm open to suggestions at the moment, so let me know if there's anything you'd like me to talk about. I know I used to do this series on commercial sock yarn, and I kind of stopped because I just ran out of commercial sock yarn to talk about. But if you have some similar ideas to that, do let me know, and maybe we can find something fun to do in the future. So I think that is about it. I'm also forgetting how to speak, which is a problem that I've had all week. When I'm really stressed out and spending a lot of time talking at work, and sometimes I just forget how to talk. So yeah. I'm going to back. There you go. There you go. I think I need more coffee. I'm going to go edit this podcast. I hope it goes well with the new camera. And then I'm going to do lots of knitting. It's the perfect knitting weather. It is getting colder. You need all the hand knits in the world, and I'm crazy excited about that. So thank you so much for watching this podcast. I really, really hope that you have enjoyed it. I will be back next week, and maybe I'll be back even sooner with some bonus content. We will see how that goes. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Have a beautiful week. Have so much fun with your knitting, and I will see you soon. Bye!